Hi everyone, I'm Edyta Sitar from Laundry Basket Quilts, and I'm right now at Fat Quarter Studios, and I got something fun and exciting for you. Many times when I travel with my quilts or show my quilts to my friends, the first questions that I get is, what bedding do I use? So the layer between the backing and a quilt top, that layer that it's hidden between those two, is bedding. Bedding, it's quite important when you choose for your quilts because it really sets it up the character of your quilt. Depends where you use your quilt, that's kind of bedding you should choose. And I know it's kind of silly, but I rely on a flyer from my bedding manufacturer, and I use Hubs beddings for my quilts. And I buy the flyer, or you can get it free from a show, and on the flyer on the back tells you fun ideas of how much a shrinkage each bedding has, how thick it is. So this guide really helps me to choose my bedding, if I'm gonna use it for hand or machine quilting, and how it's gonna react during me using the quilt. I have few favorites. In a flyer you have an amazing selection of heirloom and Tuscany beddings. One of my personal favorites are the Tuscany collection beddings, and I brought few that I like to use in my quilts. So let's go over the few beddings that I have right here. One of the most popular that I like to put into my quilts is a silk Tuscany collection. Notice how light and delicate this bedding is. It makes my quilts really light when I carry them in my suitcases for my presentation and classes, or when I display them in my household. It's the most light, wonderful bedding for a quilt. And this one is great for hand or machine quilting. It's silk bedding, and what I like about this bedding is when I fold my quilts and then I have to unpack them, it doesn't leave many creases. So I really like that for my quilts and display with this bedding. Another bedding that I wanted to show it to you, notice this. This one is wool bedding. This one has a little bit more loft. So when I'm making an applique quilt, like the one that it's in the back of me, and I'm thinking of my applique shapes, and I want a little puff and a little three-dimensional feel to it, that bedding would be perfect because it gives me that loft and that puff that I desire. And this bedding is also very nice for hand quilting. So this is Tuscany wool bedding. So next one is this one, and this is the polyester bedding, and it's very soft, especially for summer quilts. Super light, very nice for machine quilting and hand quilting, and it's very light, very lofty. I use that one occasionally for my summer quilts. My personal favorite for my light quilts is that Bleach Cotton. Oh, I could put this in every quilt I have, I tell you. This one, notice how thin it is. The cotton is just wonderful, and your bedding usually shrink just about 3 to 5% on a quilt. So depends on the size. If it's a baby quilt, 3% out of 36 inches, it's much less than a 3% out of 100 inches when you make a king size quilt. So depends on the size of the quilt. This one is delightful, and this one is bleached. Why we have this white and bleached cotton for our quilt? Because if you have your quilt top and you're making white and blue quilt, and you want the light to really sparkle, using that light bedding really does help. It just glows from underneath of your quilt top. So this one is Tuscany bleach. Another one, it's Tuscany unbleached cotton. That is another one that I go for it. And you can buy all of the beddings in a pre-packaged packages like this. So this is a package of a bedding, or you can buy it on a roll. So many times this one I get it on the roll for a lot of my machine quilting. This is a really nice one. So Tuscany unbleached, notice how thin it is. Love to put it in any of my quilts. Notice this quilt right here, how nice. It still gives me a little puff, but it's more flat, very nice to work with. And this would be a quilt that I would wash it and use it all the time. And when I wash it, that 3% shrinkage give me that vintage flavor to my quilt. So I love that one as well. And this one is Tuscany collection cotton wool. So two worlds meet together, a cotton 80%, 20% wool, and this is just a dream. Notice it has a little bit more thickness. So what it is, it's a little bit loftier. That wool lifts it up, so it gives you a little bit more puff when you quilt. And this one is another one that it's delightful to use in your quilt. The newest, it's a cloud. And I just absolutely love this one. This is the newest bedding, and notice it, how lofty, how fluffy it is. And this is double cotton. So it's 2 layers, really fluffy, really soft. I think this one is gonna be amazing to add to your quilts. I absolutely love just the feel and the touch of this bedding, and I'm hoping to enjoy this one in my quilts. If you ever have any questions on my beddings, please visit at Laundry Basket Quilts or Fat Quarter Shop, and I'm gonna try to answer those for you. Enjoy it. Remember, read the directions and choose the bedding. Depends on what you want to do with your project. If you do want a wall hanging, if you want to wash it, if you want to hand quilt it, all of that is included in this little flyer that it's available, and I hope you would enjoy it as much as I do as I choose my beddings for my quilts. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you again.